we definitely give thanks, life giver and the keeper of life in all doings and sayings. Kadamawe, Haile Selassie the First. Once again now we're into the shock of the hour. Mystic vibration specifically now, officially for the 22nd day of March 2018. And we are continuing the whole aspect of the symbolic writings. This is the third part. Let me be clear. This is the third part in the series that we're doing entitled Symbolic Writings. And for your information, because some of these parts will be published on the YouTube. Not all, but some of them, you know, as much as maybe we can really. But we broadcast the mystic vibration once again every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evening. The mystic vibration begins at 6 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time. You got to remember that. And at the same time, approximately 7 or even 8, because it's our time, the shock of the hour comes on board. And what we are doing, we are developing different programs right now that we are bringing them to you systematically, as we said before. So the earlier that you come on board with the mystic vibration program, it is better for you, I mean the scholars and the students specifically. So this is why we have a subscription program going right now, a monthly subscription program. So as today is the 22nd of March, if you subscribe today or tomorrow or whenever, what will happen from that time onward, you'll be getting a copy of the mystic vibration, the daily copy I'm speaking of the information similar to what we're going to be giving to you now. Every day it appears in your inbox, in your email, and we'll speak more about that, you know. So if you've missed the 2 previous episodes of this this series that we're now on, as I said, we're dealing directly with the symbolic writings. So that would have that means that we would have passed part 1 and part 2 already, and now we're on part 3. So even if you subscribe now, I would definitely put in part 2 and part 1 for you for sure. But you cannot wait too long, you know. You cannot wait for a month after or even 2 weeks after. When you subscribe, that's when you start to receive the programs. Yes, you can receive past programs, but the cost would be a bit different than if you subscribe for the month, you know. But we will get into that more as we, you know, conclude this program. But again, of course, I'm happy to be with you. I am happy God of the River Nile, you know. And of course, we're going to continue. We're going to go straight into it with the whole aspect of the symbolic writings, and this is the third part of such. So what I was saying, even in the 2 previous episodes, as you would know, we took time to go into the forward of that book, speaking about the marriage of Asante Wa. And I think by now we have a good comprehension of the ancient African, and as we have been highlighting, West African science of expressing not just history, but theology, philosophy, and culture, and even prophecy in the whole science of storytelling, in the science of the theater, in skits, in plays, and in song, and in dance. Hey, that is the moral of our story. That's the point that we are making, trying to make, and will be making from here on as well. Now, this is very key because we have forgotten that art. We have developed this quagmire in our thinking as it relates to spiritual matters, theological matters, and even historical matters. So everything gets jumbled up, and because we have totally forgotten one of the main things about us, again, our art of storytelling. This is one of our main sciences, man, the art of expression and communication, again through song and dance, and through poems, and through art, drawings, sculptures, statues. Man, we were known for that, not just for the beauty of them, but again, we would express the deepest of mathematical expressions in our art. That's why we went into pi and epsilon and these different things. For those who heard the other programs and for those who have already subscribed, and this is in interest of them too, we can't go over these things because there are those who have these programs and have listened to them over and over and over and just waiting for this one. But just to, quickly run over, even for their sakes, that's why we took time to touch upon the real comprehension of the other man, the red man, the human being. All human beings are the red man, And when he fell, not because he bit no apple, he fell and he put on skin, the fire that leaves the heavenly plane and touched the water and it turned red. The stars that fall from the heavenly plane and touch the lakes and they turn to blood. And other scriptures says it turned bitter to wormwood. And we also highlighted, but we didn't go into the fullness in those two. The whole concept of the sea turning to blood, and how mystic the sea is very symbolic of the blood of a human being. 70 to 80% of the water of the planet being that of similar to 70 to 80% of the blood in the human being. And the human blood and the salinity of the seawater is very similar. Coconut water and seawater has been used to revive blood when in the loss of blood. So it's a deep science. Your makeup is that of the earth. You are of the same elements of the earth. And even the ratio of the earth, I just explained, 70% water, 70% seawater. And the same thing. So your blood is made from the seawater of the earth. I can't remember that. When did my mother drink seawater? When she was pregnant? Well, that's not how it goes really, It's a science. We are all made from the earth. The minerals of the earth, you can find them within your own self. Even gold and diamond and the platinum. Yeah. And even some of the minerals and vitamins and all of this kind of stuff we're looking for in food, they're right inside of you. It's not necessarily, in many cases, it's not necessarily that you're eating the vitamin A and B and C and all your complex this and that, It's naturally in you. But yes, there are certain things that you literally do, things that you drink and eat that can activate them. So that's the whole science. So it's a deep essence. You are one with the earth. And that alone within itself is a mystic. So this is clear. No one has to drink no seawater. But it's obvious, you cannot deny that the seawater, the salinity of such is similar to that of the blood. And at the same time, the ratio and proportion of the earth and its water. Because the vast majority of the water, yeah, you have fresh water, but just look at the map, man, you could see. It's obvious that the vast majority of the water on the planet is the oceans and the seas. So I'm just showing you that you're one with the earth. So that science of the spirit, which is seen as the star hitting the water and it turned to blood and it turned red and all of that. So Adam fell as the spirit man and the red man now, and he put on skin, driven out of the garden. And the typology is deep because we're dealing with, again, the hidden science. In one other program, which we will attach to this series, is that program that we highlighted the whole aspect of the Noah's Ark, and we did a video on that on YouTube as well. And of course, even previous night, we also we broke it down in a little more detail. So just giving you a little basic idea what we've covered, and of course, just running through that will not really do it justice. But for those who have already listened to the other previous programs and have taken them in, would understand the science. Now, what I want to do now for this edition of the Mystic Vibration Shock of the Hour, I would like to read. I want to stay on the Bible too, and I'm going to read quickly here. This is from 2 Samuel chapter 23, and I think I should read somewhere from verse 7 is good. Okay, no, verse 8, because verse 8 is good. It says here, these be the names of the mighty warriors whom David had. Some translations say the mighty men. Well, this is really the King James that I put in the warriors. Some of the NIV has warriors, the HCBS has warriors. You know how they do it. Yeah. The Tachmonite that sat in the seat, chief among the captains, the same was Adino the Eznite. He lifted up his spear against 800, whom he slew at one time. I'm telling you. And after him was Eliezer, the son of Dodo, the Ahohite, one of the 3 mighty warriors with David. When they defied the Philistines that were gathered together to battle, and the men of Israel were gone away, he arose and smote the Philistines until his hand was weary. I'm telling you, he's not easy. And his hand clave unto the sword. And the Lord wrought a great victory that day, and the people returned after him only to spoil. Okay. And after him was Shammah, the son of Agi, the Harahite, and the Harahite. And the Philistines were gathered together into a troop, where was a piece of ground full of lentils, and the people fled from the Philistines. Okay. But he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it, and slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great victory. The 3 of the 30 chief went down, 3 out of 30, that's mystic, and came to David in the harvest time, harvest time unto the cave of Adullam, and the troop of the Philistine pitched in the valley of Rephaim. Okay. Now, as I said, this is 2 Samuel chapter 23, if you want to refer to it. And they're just highlighting 3 of the mighty warriors that were around David. I think these were the 3 greatest ones. And they were showing you some of the, the accomplishments that they have already done. Some of them, as it says, one was fighting, one destroyed 800 people in one day, at one time. Him alone. Another, his hand cleaved to his sword, the sort of battle that he was in. And it's just troops, or troop, they're taken out, if that's, So, and these were the chief amongst the 30, these 3 warriors, these mighty warriors of David. So now the Philistines, the long-standing enemies of the children of Jacob, they were pitched in the valley of Rephaim. And verse 14 goes on, continues to say, and David was then in an hole, And the garrison of the Philistine was then in Bethlehem, or Bethlehem. And David longed and said, "Oh, that one would give me drink of the water of the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate." Okay, before we continue. So David longed, and he said, if someone could just give me water to drink from the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. Okay. Verse 16 says, and the three mighty warriors break through the host of the Philistines and drew the water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, and took it and brought it to David. Nevertheless, he would not drink it thereof, but poured it out unto the Lord. Another version said, they brought it back to David, but he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it unto the Lord. Yeah. So we have here now, we can't take for granted this one verse that says the three mighty warriors break through the host of the Philistine and drew out the water of the well that is by the gate, and took it and brought it to David. That's very easy to say, but that's not what, that was not it was not as simple as it sounded then. That's what I'm saying. Because obviously, the reason why the author would take time to explain to you how deadly these brothers were on the battlefield is so that he didn't have to now explain to you what they had to go through when they broke through the garrison of the Philistines. Bethlehem. The reason why David and his troops, or his troop, was not in Bethlehem is because Bethlehem was under siege. Bethlehem was taken over then by the Philistines. So the Philistines had captured Bethlehem, and David and his people left Bethlehem and went into the outskirts. And David now, lamenting and in his nostalgia, was saying, man, if I could only sip of the water of the well of Bethlehem. Now, first of all, there's a lot of depths within that well of Bethlehem, because this very same well is a very famous well. If you go to Bethlehem today, I'm sure they could show you that well, of Bethlehem. The whole science of the well and the water in the well is very, very key. In the very same scripture, it speaks about the well of Jacob, and that well wherein he had to remove the stone from the mouth of the well so that the daughters could go in to get the water to water the flocks. So if we're not mistaken now, we're speaking of the same well that the Samarian sister, the woman from Samaria, Sa and Maria for sure is waters, and so is Sa in other Far East language. Sa Maria, water all around. And she came looking for water from the well. the same well of Jacob, this key well. She was like the same woman returning, and the Messiah was at the well, according to the story. And the Messiah showed her, well, listen, I mean, you can take some water from the well, you know, everybody got a drink. But let me show you the flip side of all of this. I have some water for you. He not easy. I have some water for you that if you drink of my water, you will never thirst again. And she was like, what? What are you talking about? This is the well of our fathers. You hear her? She not ramping in man. This is who's you? This is the well of our fathers that have come before you. What are you talking about? And then you just, you know, put a little more spice into it and say, okay, let me show you what's going on. You don't know, he know what to do, you know, and he know what to say. And she had to run back to her people and said, I've seen the glory. You check it. I've seen the Messiah. You know, the living water now. We ain't talking about no recycled water here. The living water. In our previous episode, in part 2 of this series that we're doing here, part 2 of this series. Remember, this is the series entitled Symbolic Writing. This is part 3 that you're listening to. And in part 2, we were highlighting the sun. And how the sun, you know, what the sun does is exactly what it says, what is said of the Messiah that he shall do when he returns, or when he comes, or however it goes. And he shall come like the sun. In fact, they call him the sun, you know, and coming out of the east and chasing away darkness, you know, and then, you know, the fullness coming in the clouds, crown of thorns on his head. All eyes shall see him. So all of this is the symbol that we see in the astronomical movement of the sun, and yet is applied to not only one character, but more than one individual throughout history. That is why we also highlighted the 16 crucified saviors as mythology as well, you know, not as history. For all the crucified saviors, as we clarified, were of the mythos. We're not speaking of history here. So that understanding now, which by now I think we have it. So the sun itself is almost like the water. So the water now, this refreshing water that waters the flock, that Jacob moved the stone from the well so that the daughters could come and taste the water. Oh yeah. So Christ now is symbolic of the water that was taken out of Jacob's well, to the point now that when the woman from Samaria came, I still call her Samaria, because it's water all over. The Maria, Mary, Maya, Miriam, Mariam. Yeah. So she now arrives, and she comes for water from the same well of the fathers, Jacob. But the living water was there. The living ark of the covenant was there. The living tent and the living tabernacle and all of these types and symbols, the living sun in human form was there, the feathered snake. So although she could still get some water because she got a drink, she can't really literally drink him. Come on. If she didn't get the water from the well, she still had to get it somewhere else. But what he was showing to her, or we could also say, what the writers of the story is impressing upon the readers is that this individual in the story now, the type of Anansi, some people get offended there. You comparing Christ to Anansi? If you were listening the programs prior to this, I think you would get what we're saying with better clarity. The type of everyone, because we're dealing with a specific type of expression, symbolic writing. So yeah, I'm saying all of that to say now, as he represents the living water, because this water in this well has been spoken of for centuries, you know. Remember in the book of Matthew, you don't find it in Luke, John, and the other one. Mark, no. In the book of Matthew, it says that an angel sat upon a stone when the woman came to the tomb of Christ. And it said that there was an earthquake prior to that. And the angel showed them that, yeah, the Christ has risen and gone. And he has rolled away the stone. Just meditate. The angel landed and rolled away the stone. Jacob rolled away the stone from the well so that water could be given to the daughters to drink. So now, at the crucifixion of the Messiah now, the stone was rolled away from his tomb. And when the daughters came, according to Matthew now, not the others, they were actually turned back because he done gone. The others say they went in and looked at other things, but we're not getting into that right now. So we'll get to that sometime, but that's not for now. You see what I'm saying? So what we are putting here now, that science, again, if you take it like how we've been taking that for decades, obviously you're going to misunderstand what I'm saying. But we're returning now to David. Because David, he desired water from the well as well. Yeah. And how mystic now that it is three of David's the three greatest warriors that had to break through the garrison, get to this famous well, dip out the water, bring it back to David. Hold on, before we go any further, let us clarify this, and we want to be sure we have this with full understanding. The water in the well represents the Savior. The water in the well represents the Messiah. That's why it's refreshing. This is how we write our story. That is why it will quench your thirst. And that is why he told the woman of Samaria that if you drink the water that I have, you will never thirst again. Yeah. So they dipped the water out and brought it to him. And the scripture said that he threw the water away. I could imagine this. But what is that all about? You got to keep in mind, again, before we went into that story, Samuel, the book of Samuel, 2 Samuel, Samuel has passed on long before all of this, Samuel dead long time. No disrespect to Samuel, but he dead long time. Yet still, we have a 2 Samuel now, written by Samuel, but we already went into that in a previous program. So all of that is the science. So here we have now the writer of this explaining to you in detail how bad these three brothers were. Or how good. You know, killing lions and killing bears and killing Goliath's brother. Yeah, all of these things they do. Killing 800 people one time. Wow. A whole troop, one takedown till he can't hardly even, take the sword out of his hand. As if his hand froze or seized in that position of holding the sword. That's how rough they were. Them is some real killers. And the three of them went down into the sieged city. This city has been captured. The people that remain in the city are prisoners of the Philistines. In fact, David left the city because of the battle and the conflict. He went to regroup, strategize, form a plan, and come again. And of course, if you know the story, obviously, eventually David was victorious and conquered all. The Lord is on his side. We wrote the story, how it goes. So the point is now, but this is the main thing, that they did not just go to the well, to get some water. They met with resistance. But because they were mighty and valiant warriors, they definitely could handle the Philistines. You have to understand, these brothers made up their mind to satisfy their king. There were 3 amongst 30 mighty warriors, and David had hundreds of foot soldiers, and David himself, he's more mightier than them. But yet still they left the city for one reason or the other. I mean, it may have been a strategic move, because if they stayed and fight, maybe they would have won, but a lot of people would have lost their lives. Whatever the case, they left. Because obviously, that if these 3 out of the hundreds that left, that were mighty warriors, these 3 amongst themselves say, yeah, we going in, we get in the water, and we coming out. So they went in. I know they came up against the security, and the 3 of them fought their way through. Remember, it's 800 men, one of them kill already here alone, man. One of them take away Goliath's brother's spear from him, I think, They said the spear was like a lamppost, a weaver's beam. And beat him with his own spear, man. Yeah. And they beat all of these warriors from the other side, from the Philistines, and slew them and bring them down. And reached to the well, and they dip out the water, and put it in the cruise or in the bottle or whatever, and say, we have what we came for. And one of them say, hey, look so-and-so, that belonged to me, leave that. That's not what we came for. We came for the water, and that's what we got, and we're leaving now. And they had to fight their way out too, because the security still was coming on them. The alarm was ringing, and hey, we have infiltrators. 3 of David's soldiers have infiltrated us, and they're taking water from the well, and whatever the case is. And they came with arrows and spears and whatever weaponry they had at the time. But the 3 brothers still managed to put them down, keep them down, and get out of Bethlehem alive. And literally return to David and present him with the water. And after all of that, David threw it away. David said he can't drink that. In fact, he actually explained why he couldn't drink it. Verse 17 says, and he said, be it far from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Is not this the blood No, it's water. Oh man, let's read the thing first and then we talk. Oh, sorry. Is not this the blood of the warriors that went in jeopardy of their lives? Question. Can I comment now? Yeah. No, it's not their blood. It's water. It goes on to say, therefore, he would not drink it. These things did these three mighty warriors. Yeah. So David now, for some strange reason, believed that the brothers brought back blood for him to drink. I don't know what kind of, quick. I don't understand that. And then someone would say, of course, brother, that's not what he means. It wasn't blood. Oh, now you see, that's our problem. We're very convenient with the symbolism in it, but we don't want to go too far. Obviously, David is using this as a metaphor. And if we take that story as literal as it's placed to us, what he's saying is that, hey, these brothers went, and just as it says, they put their life on the line for me just because I said I was thirsty. And I know they're thirsty too, And I'm sure they didn't even take a drink. They just wanted to get my water and bring it back to me. Wow, my brothers, you could have lost your life. Wow, you did that for me? And I'm just going to drink this and fill my belly? No way. We all have ancestors. We all have those that have gone before us. I think the earth would be more satisfied with this. Let us pay homage to them and perform a libation. And that's the only sensible thing that could be. So what David did, he pronounced a libation and he carried out a libation ceremony. It may not be written so, but that's exactly what happened there. Listen to what he said. And it was a living libation too. It ain't no spooky thing alone. Or at all. You check it. Because our ancestors live in us. Many of us here, we're the living ancestors. And he didn't really pay homage to the unseen. He paid homage to the three brothers that went for the water for him. People that was in front of his face. Now I'm saying that is symbolic of the Trinity. And I'm speaking of the Trinity that has the three male figures in them. And I am not about to argue with no one. Especially if you're going to try to bring some kind of book. I am going straight to the stars. If you want to get into the three male figures that are given a specific task. So it doesn't even matter if you go for a hieroglyph. And I can go there too, because Ptah, Sokar, and Asar is a trinity, a triune of three male figures. One God, three, one, and they even have a statue with the three in one. So that alone shows you that concept of the Trinity. We don't have to get caught up in religion, Obviously, you'd be a fool not to accept that there is a triune or a trinity, a holy three of Father, Mother, and Child. What madness is it to deny that? But I'm working with the science of the heavens. We have explained that already. You have the serpent holder. You have the Sagittarius, the archer. And you have the character known as the Hercules in the constellation. And celestially, when you're dealing with the whole aspect of the geometry of the movements of the heavens. On the perfect opposite side of that, you have the Orion and the Gemini, your mother, father, and son. So you have one Trinity on one side of the heavens. At midnight, you see one Trinity. And when it's midday on the other side of the earth, if you could see the heavens, you would see the other Trinity. Perfect opposite to each other. But we have done videos and highlighted that clearly. You can check our YouTube channel and see that for yourself. So I'm saying now, let's get back to what we're talking about. So the three brothers, you don't have to get spooked out. The three brothers is symbolic of the Trinity that left from the presence of their God, David, who is very symbolic of, the almighty figure, the David, So these three came out of him as such. And they came down to the region where the people were captive. Because Marcus came down, the man, to the region where the people were captive, to speak a word and perform a work to free us. Garvey I talking about. And what they did, they fought their way through. It may seem like something that took place in just a fraction of a couple of minutes or something, but maybe the story sounds so. And even if you give the story light, it may have been a process that took an hour and a half. The whole mission may have taken a day, But when you translate that now to history and prophecy and what does this story mean, that whole process is a process of a lifetime. You understand? And I'm going to stick to Marcus Garvey. So when the mighty prophet Marcus Garvey had to fight against the odds of the day, when he had to travel the world to see the plight of the black man, and said, wait, everywhere I've been, I see the black man as the underclass. And then went and started the printing press in Jamaica, and being outstanding as the first black man to be performing these works. When you see he had to go to the United States of America and raise the standard of the black man there, and the fight that he got, the FBI came into itself fighting against Marcus Messiah Garvey, wrongly accused, trumped up charges, mail fraud, my foot, put in jail, tomb, prison, deported, ostracized, so many things, shot 3 times just to get a bit of water from the well to assist in the liberation of his people. So the science now, the sort of tribulation, and he still broke through the garrison. Marcus I talking about. He broke through the garrison and he got the water. And he brought out of the garrison and carried the water back home. Oh boy. I'm telling you, brother. Emperor Haile Selassie the First. What you talking about? He broke through the garrison. And he got the water from the well. Because the water from the well now is symbolic too of the resurrection. Because the same sun, man, when it hit the water now, is evaporation. Evaporation, you know, going into condensation. And we observe all of this in nature. All of this we would watch. All of this we would observe and pen that on papyri and carve it in the walls and create it in drama, in play, in song, and in dance. and tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, some say millions and billions of years after, people take this ancient code, create some holy books, and give us some cheap stories that we make rather worse in trying to literalize them in the way that they're written. But what I just read for you is literal. I just gave you a snip of the literal. I just said Marcus Garvey. So it's not just a metaphor, it's a metaphor that come to life. King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. Now you know where I am. So I am just saying that that metaphor again is the science of the libation, and that's why you perform the libation and you pour the water to the earth. But our problem is we like to praise people when they're dead. We don't want to throw the libation for the man in front of us, the man that bring the water and say, look it here. Oh yeah, let me yeah, Santewa. Anybody have anybody in the audience that has died and passed on? You call their name secretly to yourself. Uncle Tom and Cousin Jeff. But listen, look, what about the man in the front row? You just said he was a community activist. Trust some water for him. You just said the sister behind, she lost her job because she refused to do this and that and whatever. Trust some water for her. Them is people that put their blood on the line, as David says. That's what he said, you know. That's what David said. The water is the blood. Hear what David said, no? This is the blood. What David say? This is the blood. What was the first miracle that Christ performed? He turned water into blood. Ugh. He turned water into wine, the symbol of the blood. That's why when they were drinking the wine, he said, this is my blood. That's why when the fire or the spirit or the soul is also symbolized as a star, hits the water or the lake or the pond or the sea water, salinity, it turns to its equivalent, blood. So that's why the water from the well was seen as their blood. Because them going down into the city didn't mean they run out to the mountains and say, let's get the water. No. It's like the fire coming from the heaven, touching the earth. And these people were manifested in the earth as human beings. They have birthdays, they have times, they have experiences and rites of passages. Come and they do their work and get the water from the well. That's why we honor them, glorify them for what they've done. That's how we write the story. That's how we express the Anansi. It's called symbolic writings. And I will continue to stress, it is not all symbolic. It would vary, but trust me, in everything symbolic, there's literalism in it too. And that's very key and important. And I would dare say again, we also express history. A lot of what we deny is historic, but not historic in the way that we have written it. We code our history. We code our history for you, for ourselves. So when we return, we could decode it because we were the one that coded it. And some of us that don't know the key to decode it, we are quick to jump and say things that we should not say. And this and that don't exist, and this never happened and that never happened. I could kind of see why you would say that, because it never happened the way that is written. But I could show you how the story really goes. So give thanks, you know. Our time now, we have to seal up here. We have come to the completion of this. Is the third part. The third part of the whole episode dealing with the symbolic writings. I cannot say how many parts I'm going to put to this, but we're just going to go with the flow. I think it's key for us to comprehend this whole science of the symbolic writings, because that's what we talk about, the mystery system. But I said to myself, before I go into any other thing, we need to see what's the root of this and why we did it, and to even prove that this is the science that we have lost, that have us in this religious quagmire of thought, I would say. You know, even those of us that are so-called conscious, I'm telling you, we've been welcomed too, even in such knowledge, you know. So again, as I said, for sure, if you are to subscribe today, this program is for the 22nd of March. If you subscribe today, like tonight after the Mystic Vibration, you subscribe. The subscription is just 50 United States dollars a month, just $50. And you get each and every evening's edition of the Shock of the Hour. So like tonight, those who have already subscribed, as this program is done, I'm going to go in my email and send it to all those who have already subscribed. Then to tomorrow, when I do another program, well no, today is Thursday, yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So Monday, when we do another Mystic Vibration, it goes out the same evening, at least by the morning you get it, you know. So that will afford you at least 16, 17 programs every month. I mean, I don't put money value as such to my programs, obviously, you know. But just what we just said alone tonight, you think you could value this at $50? Give me a break. I ain't afraid to tell nobody that. What I just said a while ago is life saving, straight up. Yeah. So, so for a month worth of this, and as I said, this is not just you know, gaffing and chatting, you know. We're putting these series together so we can build ourselves on a more stable mentality, you know. This is just my part. Some people want you to do more than what you came to do, you know. I'm not saying, well, let me leave that part. But people want you to do more than what you came to do. People say, yeah, good fight. You should talk more about this. You should talk more about that. Why I should talk more about that? Maybe that's for somebody else to talk about. What are you talking about? Boy, I can't talk. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So yes, my brothers and sisters, give thanks for your presence. And of course, yes. So you can contact me, of course. Call or WhatsApp 1268-728-3162. Or of course, you can email me, priestisaac27@gmail.com. And all you have to say is, priest, I would like to subscribe to the monthly Mystic Vibration Shock of the Hour program, so I could get it every month, every day, every morning in my email. Well, you don't have to say all that, but just tell me why you're linking me, and definitely I'll give you all the details to do such. And yes, so give thanks again for your presence, and of course Radio Anu again every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 6 p.m. It's the Mystic Vibration. You don't have to wait until that time. Radio Anu, right now, when it comes to information, knowledge, and inspiration, Radio Anu is the place to be. So for those who will check this on the YouTube, all you have to do is go into the link below, and you could press the button, and you could all you have to do is go into the description below and press the link, and it will carry you straight to radioanu.com specifically. So give thanks for your presence. Of course, as I always say, if you know your Bible and you do not know your history, the knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery. King Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Listen.